welcome to Pre-Med CC on this Friday. I am very pleased to welcome Ms. Xue Tao. She's an Associate Director at Stanford University School of Medicine's Master of Science in the Physician Assistant Studies program. Since April 2023, she has played a pivotal role in the application review and evaluation process. Before joining Stanford, Ms. Tao was the International Admissions and Recruitment Specialist at UC Davis and held key roles in international admissions at Hofstra University and Ashland University. She holds a Master's of Science in Higher Education Administration from the University of Dayton. Please welcome Ms. Tao.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for your kind introduction. So I guess we can just start the presentation now, right? So I will go ahead and share my screen. Can you see my screen with the slide appropriately?
Yes, looks
Sounds
good.
Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone, and it's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you for the Pre-Med CC for organizing and promoting this webinar. My name is Tao. I normally go by last name, and I'm the Associate Director of the Stanford MSPA programs at Stanford Medicine. So in the next about 30 or even 35 minutes, we will go over my presentation to show you a program overview, and we will focus on admissions. And hopefully to this section will give you some general information about our program and particularly about applying to our PA program. So a little bit of our history. At Stanford, we have been educated PA for over 50 years. At the beginning, it was called the Primary Care Associate Program, and that was actually within the collaboration with Foothill College back then, and they were not Stanford student. They were Foothill College student, but we helped with the training. We helped educate about 2,000 students in that model. And back in 2017, that was the first year we matriculated our first cohort as a Stanford student into our Master of Science in PA programs. First of all, I would like to point out our breathtaking campus. As you're probably familiar with the great weather here most time of the year in Northern California, and also because how our campus is laid out, particularly for academic medical centers. Stanford Hospital is right on campus next door to the School of Medicine. We are on the May campus with the rest of the university, which means you get the full access to the beautiful campus and all the activities that you could enjoy or participate during your study and between your classes. Our state-of-the-art facility are truly outstanding. There are some photos on this slide showing our new children and adult hospital. Both were opened about 5 years ago. The photo in the left-down corner is our Cushing Learning and Knowledge Center for School of Medicine, where sits all the classroom and simulation labs. We always try to do innovative things in the classroom, and one of them is called a flipped classroom. So several of our courses, we have upfront learning style. And then the student do upfront learning on your own, and then they come into the classroom and go through certain cases or go through a particular physiology. We also have a cadaver lab, and our students do dissection. In the past, they normally paired with our medical student and have fresh cadavers. They work through the anatomy course, and then they go back to the anatomy lab later in their education to do advanced clinical skills, things like intubation. So a pretty unique and unusual opportunity for a PA program. For any applicant, when you are looking for a PA program, the first things I highly recommend that you check it out is the program mission and goals. You really need to look into it to make sure the program is a good fit for your long-term education and career goal. And it's the same for the program. You know, when we look at you as a candidate, we would like to see how well you fit in our program's mission and goal. And also for accreditation purpose, we need to make sure that a student we bring into the program contribute to the mission and goals as we promised. So here's our mission. To educate and train compassionate and diverse PAs who can provide high quality patient centered care and dedicated to improving access to healthcare and are inspired to become leaders in healthcare. And more specifically, for our goals, recruit diverse and highly qualified applicants who can successfully complete the rigorous PA program, educate PAs to provide patient-centered care as the members of an interprofessional healthcare team, as we all know how important it is to be a part of the team, particularly in the healthcare professionals. Prepare graduates with the medical knowledge and skills to enter clinical practice. That means entering the clinical practice in any field, which could be primary care or any subspecialty care. Prepare graduates to practice in medically underserved and health professional shortage community, if that's their desire after graduation. Prepare grads to practice in the Stanford healthcare community. Our program actually does serve as a pipeline program for the Stanford healthcare community. 40% or more of our grads actually work at Stanford healthcare after they graduate. And more importantly, we want to develop future PA leaders. This goal really sets us apart from other programs and become one of the goals we have here. We would like to provide some foundation and momentum for future PAs to take hospital leadership roles or research leadership roles as a great potential. So we want to embed that into our curriculum. We also would like to see our candidates have that leadership potential there. We value applications that shows some personal passion and interest that fit the program goals. You don't have to match all the goals we talk about here, obviously, but at least there should be some overlap between your personal education and career goal with the program goals. The next slide showed the newest NCCPA pass rate. Very fresh data. The entire class of 2024 passed their PENS as the first-time takers. The table on the slide show a little bit more context, but it's maybe too small for you to read. So to give you a little bit context here, the national first-time test taker passing rate for 2024 was 93%. We used to always have 100% first-time passing rate, but unfortunately, we saw the data dropped down a little bit during COVID. Um, but for all of those very few students who did not pass the first time for the previous cycle, for the previous classes, they passed the second exam without any difficulties. And right now, we are very happy to see the rate coming back to 100% with the entire program efforts. So to talk about our program itself, our program is a 9-quarter, 28 months program, and there is a didactic component, which is the first 5 quarters. And you will have the first summer off, which is also a bit unusual for a PA program. And then is the the second part will be the clerkship. For the last 4 quarters, also known as clinical training. During this whole time, you will work in a leadership track and work on a thesis project that turns into a paper and presentation, typically in the last few months before the graduation. On the slide, I also list the current leadership tracks here. If you're interested in something that is not on there, you can explore that with the designated faculty to discuss the potential. And also, it's not uncommon for students to do multi-tracks if that's the better fit for their interest. Next slide is our schedule. This is a sample. It's also a little bit unique compared to other PA programs. Many other PA programs will have you in the classes the whole time, 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. Our May PA courses are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We always leave the Wednesday utilized for electives and scholarly works. So even it's not a real day off, but it's a day with some flexibility to work on your thesis project or take electives that you're interested in. As I said, this is a sample for the first month. And the schedule will look very similar to this, but maybe slightly busier than this by moving forward. Wednesday will obviously for thesis and electives, and the rest of the week will be pretty full for the core classes during the didactic period. Talking about the electives, you will have so many options. You pretty much can take anything as long as it fits your schedule. Most of the electives offers in School of Medicine are on Wednesday because the medical student also have the Wednesday designated for electives. We always have students also take electives from School of Business or School of Education. As I said very earlier, because we are on the main campus, so you can easily just take courses from other schools. Some of the common example for electives are like Spanish, Mandarin, leadership in medicine, and also there are some interesting ones such as medicine in movies, being mortal, managing difficult conversations, etc. You will never get bored with the endless option. Sometimes we call our electives as a candy shop. That's how many options you can actually get. And this is an overview for our entire three-year curriculum. As I said earlier, we will have a 5 quarter for didactic and then 4 quarters for the clinical clerkship. And our class size right now is about 29 students max. And now let's look closer at this curriculum plan. For the 1st quarter, you will take several introductory courses, which are clinical anatomy, histology, and embryology. We are now under a curriculum redesign and update process. So that's what I heard. These 3 courses may be combined into one course with the similar credit units. I don't have the full detail and the final plan from the program, but if you're interested, please come back to our website. We do list all the curricula on the web page and we'll update them once anything get changes. And also, during the 1st quarter, you will take the foundations of clinical medicine, which will focus on the clinical applications of basic science, such as biochemistry, genetics, immunology, and microbiology. And on top of that, you will take the foundations of clinical neurosciences in quarter 2, which will focus on providing foundations in clinical neuroanatomy and neurophysiology. Then you will see 3 core series courses from quarter 1 to 5. Practice of medicine, refer as POM, Principles of Clinical Medicine, uh, we call it PCM, and Clinical Therapeutics, CTH courses. These 3 assessment courses line up with each other. You will learn the main physiology and pathophysiology of the organ system in each PCM, and you will learn about the pharmacology and therapeutics in that system in the CTH courses. And simultaneously, you will learn the referable clinical skills in the POM, such as physical exams, patient interviews, patient education through um, simulation labs, and a lot of different learning model. Some of the foundations of the clinical medicine courses and parts of the PCM will use the flipped classroom learning style as I introduced earlier in the presentation. We now have pretty good data to going back for several years to show the student both learn and retain information pretty well for the both courses that are using the flipped classroom model. And lastly, the PAs in the healthcare sequence are shown on the slide and run through a good portion of the entire MSPA program, including the clerkships. The courses will focus on many aspects important to becoming a PA, including like professional identity formation, healthcare for underserved communities, disparity of healthcare, advanced clinical skills, and development of leadership skills, and so on. The work of your thesis project will also be occurring in this course. So I know this is a lot, but this is the overview for our didactic curriculum plan. These all help foster the awareness, knowledge, and skills needed to practice culturally competent and sensitive healthcare profession. Um, this is the list. The next slide is talk about the list of our clerkship, which include 9 core clerkship and 3 electives. Student will take the 9 core rotation in the first 9 months of their clinical year. That's normally April to December, and 3 electives in the final 3 months, which is January to March. Each clerkship is 4 weeks long, full time, which means a minimum of 40 hours a week, very intense, and some rotations like surgery or women's health, maybe even closer to 50 to 60 hours a week. The schedule is set by the clinical team and preceptors. At the end of each core clerkship, students are required to take end of rotation. We also call it UR exam. That exam is administered by the PAEA, Physician Assistant Education Association. So UR is our standardized evaluation to serve as the one measure of medical knowledge that the student gain during each core rotation. So to talk a little bit more about the elective rotations, most students like to check out subspecialties. Um, like for example, maternal fetal medicine, high risk OB, surgical specialist. Some students want to do more rotations in the medically underserved area, which is great. We also have students do dermatology, critical care, adult congenital heart disease are another interesting one. Is really all over the map. We probably have over 80 different things on the list. The student have a tons of choices. If they want something that's not on the list, we are based on this as the Stanford healthcare community. We are normally able to make that happen for you as well. And I also know a lot of people, especially potential applicant, are interested to know about our rotation site. The majority of the rotations will be complete in the Stanford healthcare community. However, we do have several rotation sites that are outside the area. We have some rotations in the Central Valley area, like the Fresno area, and some are in Embro County, like the Southeast California near the Mexican border. Those away rotations are awesome and a great opportunity to work with underserved population. We also working on establishing a new rotation site in Hawaii. We do not currently have an official international site, but we do have students do their elective rotations with one of the Stanford physician at the Philippines, which is a mobile clinical clinic for primary care. We are a pass-fail grading system that's also different compared to many other PA programs. This is both for the medical student and PA student at Stanford. We have it because we believe this will decrease the competitiveness among classmates. And our hope is our cohort can, enter as a team, study as a team, and graduate as a team together so they can support each other and build a strong community beyond that. And I'm very happy to share this photo with you, which is from the most recent team retreat and has most of our leadership, faculty, and staff members. I truly believe those people who support you during your education here really make Stanford PA unique. We have a very small class size on purpose. We are accredited to have up to 50 students, but we intentionally decided to keep our cohort to 30 or under. So all of us, all the staff and the faculty can get to know our student and help them on a one-on-one basis. So now let's move to the part, probably, you want to hear the most, which are admissions requirement and procedure. First, please allow me to remind you that all the mission information we talk about today was basically based on the current admission cycle we are going through, which is 24-25. We almost wrap this cycle. Some of the requirement and recommendations we talk about today may get changed in the future cycles, but the basis should always remain the same. We have admission open around late April every year when CASPA start to accept application. Make sure to always check our admissions website for the most up-to-date information, which I share the links here when you're ready to apply. And I promise, if you really go through the website, there are several web pages under the admission section. And if you really read thoroughly for all the pages, you will find like 99% of your question get answered. Our program is designed to have minimal requirements, reduce barriers, and to encourage applicants to apply and to diverse our application pool. And also enhance the holistic review concept within our admission committee. So we don't want to turn any student away just because they are missing one upper division chemistry class, or they may just have less professional hours or less leadership hours compared to their peers. So we are being extra cautious about setting up admission requirements, also known as the prerequisite. Anything we set as a requirement means we cannot waive it for any circumstance because that will be against our accreditation. So the only requirement for admission is that you will need to have a qualified bachelor degrees from a regional accredited academic institution in the US or Canada. Everything else would be either recommended or highly recommended. For those recommendations, which we will talk soon, the more you have, the more competitive you are. And I can be very transparent with you. We did accept students missing one or even more of these admission recommendations in the past cycles. So talk about those recommendations. Again, I would like to reassure this. If you miss any of the admission recommendations, we will still review your application as long as you meet the minimal requirements as we just stated in the previous slide. Which also means we do not offer waivers for any of this because they are not requirement. The more eligible coursework, test scores, professional hours, strong letter of recommendation you have under your belt when you apply, the more competitive you are. So what are those recommendations? First, I want to emphasize that we strongly recommend the applicant take at least one of the standardized tests. It doesn't really matter which one, but we strongly recommend you take at least one of them. Could be GRE, could be MCAT or PACAT. A minimal of 3 letters of recommendation is recommended, with a maximum of 5 letters, I believe, allows through the CASPA application. And I do believe CASPA require at least 2. So actually, the most students do 3 or above, but the minimal will be 2 letters per CASPA application. And letters of recommendations from a physician assistant, a physician, and someone who can speak about the applicant's academic potential, such as a science professor or academic advisors, are strongly preferred. Letters from nurse practitioners is another good one. We also accept letters from prior employers, professional colleagues, and mentors. The letters should speak directly to the applicant's alignment with the program mission and goals, as we just talked about earlier in the presentation. Our preparatory courses recommendations are not prerequisite for admission, but competitive applicants are ready to succeed academically in our program. We strongly recommend that applicants complete all the preparatory coursework before applying to the program, which include biology, anatomy, physiology, chemistry, statistics, psychology, and at least 3 additional upper division bioscience courses. The upper division, lower division course level are normally classified by the institution where you take them, and normally to your colleges, community colleges only offer lower level lower division courses, which is fine. But we also see a lot of students who already graduate from undergrad, but they are able to took those upper division courses from UC Extension, for example. So there's other way to get those upper division courses, even though if you already received your bachelor degrees. Last but not least, the professional experience. Our recommendations for clinical research and volunteer experience are not prerequisite for admission, but we recommend that applicant complete a minimum of 500 hours of clinical experience. We also encourage applicants to include relevant research and volunteer experience in their application. We would like to see how familiar you are with the healthcare professionals and your potential research interests and your passion for community services, if there's any. Um, I also want to include that we do not have a supplemental application and we do not charge a supplemental application fee. Everything goes through CASPA and CASPA only. So the next slide is show the timeline. So this is newly updated. The timeline just been decided and updated, also on our website. Um, so this is the exact timeline for 25 to 26, but if you're planning to apply for future cycles, this timeline will look very similar. Our applications normally open at the end of April when CASPA starts to accept application. And the semi-rolling basis reviews start right away while those applications are getting verified by CASPA. The applications closes in the middle of July, which means application must be in a complete status in CASPA by this time to be considered. They are different application status and definition in CASPA, which confuse some of the applicants. We see that happen every year. Applicant who believe they met the deadline because they submitted the application by the deadline, which is not the case. Um, if you're familiar with PA program, we all may use different definition to determine our deadline. So for Stanford MSPA, we use is called orange deadline. You will see the more details with the CASPA application. Pretty much mean your application need to be in a complete status. I believe that means the CASPA need to receive all your official transcript. At least two of your recommenders should submit your letter of recommendation. The payment should be clear, etc. So there's way more than just submit your CASPA online application. Because of that, don't ever wait until the last minute because there are other steps or materials is out of your control. Like depends on how soon your recommender gonna submit your letters. Depends on how soon Casper receives those transcripts. So uh, this is always we see this timeline since confuse applicants. And then the interview process will normally be held around October and November. And we will make offers of admission before the winter break. Actually, the most of the time we even try to do that. At least the first couple acceptance will go out even before Thanksgiving. If we try our best and everything goes smooth. So, how this admission process moving forward behind the scenes after you submit everything? There are four major phases for admission process. The phase one is eligibility and initial review. During this phase, we will review both cognitive and non-cognitive traits of your file from like GPA, coursework, test score to your diversity indicator, professional experience, and special achievement. The most important thing for the admission committee to do in this phase is to assess the academic risk, like how well you're going to succeed in this rigorous PA program. The phase two is a comprehensive review. The admission committee reviews your file holistically, and they will read your materials thoroughly and evaluate it quantitatively and qualitatively. The key goal for this phase is to get to know you, who you are as a person, what sets you apart from other applicants, the path you have gone through to get where you are, how you will stand out in the application poll. what you can contribute to our program, whether you're a good fit for our program. It's really like a 3D review. And then phase three is the interview phase. Every cycle we may do it a little bit different, but you should expect to have one or more rounds of interviews and meet with leadership faculty and current students. Sometimes we may also invite alumni and professional PAs from Stanford healthcare community to join the interview. And the final phase will be the offer of admission. So going into the not very excited, but so crucial part, which is the tuition and fee. This is pretty straightforward based on the academic year of 24-25. The standard tuition was $20,365 along with other university fees. There's an optional fee for health insurance down below. Student must have health insurance while they're in the program. They may opt out to have private insurance. I do want to say that this is a university, not a program, sets our tuition fee. So this is beyond our control. We understand this could be potentially a big financial burden for some individuals. So we're working hard to put together some financial resources and keep looking for scholarship opportunity to help you survive there. So let's talk about those financial assistance. You're probably already familiar with some of this, like student loans are the money you borrow from the federal government or private institution that must be paid back. The scholarship are considered as gift aid, which is free money. At our program, we may offer a small amount of the scholarship based on the academic merit and alignment with the program's mission and goals. It's not a need base, at least not now. Normally, about 30% of the cohort may receive some program scholarship, and the amount range, normally is several $1,000s. Um, but I do see, in the recent cycles, the new cycle we are just entered through, and the past cycles for the class of 2027, we definitely offered more than that. So it really depends on the grants we receive each year and the fundings we apply and receive every cycle. The next one is Knight Hennessy Scholarship Program. That's a Stanford University graduate school scholarship program. Scholar participate in up to 3 years of programming that complements their grad studies and prepare them to take on leadership roles in academia, industry, government, nonprofit, and community at large. It's a very competitive but great scholarship program. And the National Health Services Corp is offering scholarship and loan repayment. Loan repayment means some national bodies will repay your loan to exchange with some working agreement. We are seeing increasing recipient in our program every cycle, which is great. For example, in the class of 2025, we have 5 students who are proudly NHSC recipients. So this is my presentation today. That gave us a chance to go over basic program information, admission overview, tuition fees, and financial support. If you want, you can scan the QR code on the slide and leave your contact information and stay connect with us. I believe there are many topics or information we are unable to cover today. So I also put a mission inquiry and question inbox here for everyone to contact after the session today if you have any question that we do not address or I'm unable to answer it today. I'm not an expert on everything about the program, but I will definitely find you the right person to answer the question. So thank you so much. I believe I will turn the mic back to Kristen.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the presentation, Ms. Tao. So for our first question, we have in the chat, it's for an applicant with a lower GPA, what are some things that you suggest to compensate for that? Are there some specific aspects of the application that they should pay more attention to?
Sure. That's a good question. And we also receive that kind of question a lot. Um, as I say in the presentation, the first things I will highly recommend is getting a standardized test. That's kind of like another evidence to prove your academic potential. And it costs money. Costs some time. I understand that, but that really gonna boost your opportunity if you have a lower GPA. I think that will be the very first suggestion, and that's normally the more straightforward one. And also depends on how low your GPA is. Taking additional courses or retake some of the courses may be another option. But again, if you already have a lot of credit and you have a lower GPA, it will be pretty hard to bring the GPA back by just taking a couple extra courses. However, if you're just slightly lower, repeat some of the courses may not be a bad idea. And also depends on everyone's financial situation. Taking additional courses at a tier colleges or at a UC extension campuses is costing money as well. And also, if you just have a slightly lower GPA and you beyond the school for a little while, and getting more professional hours might be another good idea. So it really depends on the situation, depends on this case by case. Yeah.
What type of clinical experiences would you consider? Would a physical therapy technician count? And the second question, or the second part of that question is, what's the average number of hours you would consider as competitive?
Sure. Um, um, to be honest, I'm probably not an expert to fully answer that question. Our program faculty is the one who review those experience and make decision. We do, if you go to the website, we do list all the examples to what we consider as the healthcare hours or patient care hours. Um, my recommendation is always when you fill the application, try to do the best. And because when we review it, we may make adjustments. Maybe we're going to move different category. Maybe this is more like a direct patient care other than general health care, or maybe some is more like alignment with the research. So the faculty members may even make arrangement. And also, it really depends on what you do. Sometimes we may wait more for certain type of experience. So even though all the position may sound the same, but we will still look into the detail. And sometimes we may increase or even decrease the actual hours you put in your application. So it's not a straight answer, unfortunately. I wish I have the easy answer for the student. But I think if we talk about the direct patient care experience, there are at least some basic foundation we're looking to through. First, this need to be an intensive patient interaction type of work. And also it's need to be in a professional clinical setting. Sometimes people may say, we're asking about if I do a virtual sort of patient care services, or I just at home taking care of family members, how that gonna be considered or count. That may be noted, but may not be officially considered as the patient care hours. So the basic foundation is need to be intensive patient care and in a professional clinical setting. But other than that, I would say just try to fill the application the best you can.
And is there an average number of hours that you would
Oh,
consider
yeah.
as competitive?
Oh, yes. I think above 2000. And also, I don't really feel like that's special for Stanford MSPA. I believe the national report showed that 500 is really the minimal, and 200 is kind of like the average for all the accepted PA student across the country. But normally, if you have 1,000 and above, I believe that's good enough to bring into the interview pool for the most of if the rest of the application are fine and meet all the criteria.
What is the admission rate as of 2025?
Um, 2025 is a really challenging year, I should say, for applicant. I think at Stanford MSPA, our acceptance rate is normally between 1% to 3%. I think 2025 is probably around 1%. So it's a the rate is very competitive, but I don't want that number scary any potential applicant because, even though the pool seems very large, but I would say, majority of them are not ready. They are not even moving to the second phase, as I just talked about the four phases in the admission process. So I will say a lot of the pool, the funnel seems large, but actually, I don't see the serious applicant is that large. So even though the number sounds like just 1%, 2%, but if you look at the final pool, we normally invite about 100, 120 students for the interview pool, and then we make about 30 offers from there.
Yeah, there's one data you should know that the 100% of people that don't apply don't get in. So, that's the most important statistics um, to look at is, yeah, it is competitive, but so is every other thing that you want to do in life. So, you know,
Exactly. Exactly. I completely agree with that.
So this student has more of a specific question. So they took their science prerequisite classes over 10 years ago, but recently in a post-bac program that they did in the last 2 years, they did 40 units of the upper division bio classes with a 4.0 GPA, and they also took the MCAT and scored a 516. Do you recommend that they still retake all the other science prereqs before they apply?
At Stanford MSPA, it's a pretty strict coursework consideration timeline is the 10 years. And also, as I said, for us, there's no prerequisite. It's our recommended coursework. And the more you have, the more competitive you are. So again, we don't want to make decision for that student. The student sounds like it's well prepared and probably have a lot of great professional hours as well. Do they have to retake all the biosciences courses? I don't personally think so. But again, without looking at the entire file, I cannot make the black and white, comments there. But again, for the coursework itself, for anything more than 10 years will be noted, but we won't officially considered. And we list all the recommended coursework on the website, so the student can just go there and see. Maybe she retook some of them more recent and only have like a one or two, which is longer than 10 years. That might be fine. But again, it's the student decision.
yeah, I think if you've taken 40 units with a 516 MCAT, that means you probably have a pretty good concept of upper division biology. And I personally, I mean, like I said, I don't know, but I think that anybody that gets a 516 on the MCAT means that can take you can take information in, process it, and take an exam for it. And so, um, but that's just me. And if you take an upper division classes, it means that you've passed. You have concept of the lower division information, so you know general chemistry and organic and all the other good stuff. But that's just me.
Yeah, I agree. And also, the other things I want to talk a little bit more about the standardized test. The student have a pretty good MCAT score. I know people have different opinion about standardized test. The reason we still have the confidence to say we highly recommend is because, we understand some student is not a good test taker in general, or it costs money and time. However, by going through the PA program, you will have to take a lot of standardized tests. A lot of them are not even, administered by the university, is by PAEA. Students should have be comfortable with it because this is how they can survive the program and how they can graduate and get a degree and get a certificate. So this is just this professional field. We understand students are different, but taking a standardized test is really helpful for the application.
Do PA students get a chance to explore different specialties during their preclinical period?
Yes, absolutely. We base on Stanford Healthcare. We are very close to the Stanford Hospital. We always embedded our different specialty in the curriculum, and also we always invite professional healthcare provider from the Stanford healthcare community to come to do seminar, to do lecture. So it's a very diverse program because we really base on a very, very strong healthcare network. So I will say yes. And as I say in our one of our goals, we one of the goal for us is to prepare students to enter in any specialty care if that's their plan, not just the primary care focus.
I can just tell you that most schools that you're in the health professions, you get this little cool thing called the badge, and then basically you're clear to go in the hospital, and you could find people easily if you're interested in any kind of specialty in any, you could go into any of them, and it's really easy. And there are people, either it's physician assistant and medicine or even nursing, they want you to join their tribe, so they will go out of their way to provide opportunities for you. And that's just everywhere. That's not just a Stanford thing. But
What is the average GPA for the accepted students?
I will say above 3.5. Depends on the year. But I will say we definitely accept students who are below 3.5 in the past. Not a lot, but there are a few students who with a slightly lower GPA. And also when they fill the CASP application, actually the CASP application itself will generate so many different kind of GPAs, undergrad GPA, bioscience GPA, BCP GPA. Like there are so many different sort of GPAs. And at least at Stanford SPA, we do look at all different GPAs. So depending on what type of GPA we're talking about is below 3.5. Maybe the student have overall GPAs below 3.5, but a science GPA might be very strong. We also give students a common box to provide any context they want about their academic record. If they have concern about their lower GPA, there's opportunity for them to talk about it. Maybe they have a pretty bad year at freshman, maybe they're a first gen student, or they have health problem. Whatever context they want to provide, we will also take that into consideration if they have a lower GPA.
Which hospitals are partnered with Stanford in the Central Valley?
And that's a good question. I may not have that name.
I can tell it's Valley Children, Tri Valley, and also Community Health.
Thank you.
About the clinical electives, the students interested in orthopedics, does Stanford provide an elective for orthopedics?
Those are not a question I can answer right away. I do need to double checks with the clinical team because things are changed. The rotations had to change, the preceptors are changed. So I cannot make promise, but I'm pretty confident, pretty positive. It should be possible.
Are there any formal mentorship programs that match students with PA mentors?
Oh, you mean like the mentorship program at Stanford PA? Oh, we have so many. The student will get like almost like a 40 support. They will get a faculty advisor. They will get PA advisor, PA what was the program called? They will get a faculty advisor, they will get peer advisor. We also have a special staff members called a special learning specialty. Like he will also be available to schedule one-on-one appointment with student if they have any academic concern or time management concern, etc. So for one student, at least they can get like two or three advisor or mentors. Um, they get so many support from the program during their study.
Yeah, I could tell you that with class of what 2930, I think Stanford has something like close to 200 PAs, so I'm pretty sure you could find mentors.
Yes, yes.
Um,
How
yeah,
many
I know
applications?
one
Oh,
person
sorry.
who was a PA student that wanted to do flight medicine, and they found someone who was a PA in a helicopter. So yeah.
Our next question is, how many applications do you get on average per year?
Actually, I would say post-COVID, the number do up and down. Last year, again, for the 24-25 cycle, it's probably on the record. And also it depends on the status we're talking about. We're talking about anyone who submit the application, we're talking about the complete application. Um, I will say I can just run the number very quickly here. Um, I think for 24-25, at one point we were getting like more than 3,000 at one point. Because right now we are almost finished and students are dropping off or they withdraw from the program, right now is slightly below 3,000. Yeah.
Again, Miss Tao has not the ability to look in the crystal ball and predict the future, so those change on various things. So
Yeah, it's actually changed dramatically, more up and down than I anticipate. I mean, the previous cycle is much smaller than this, but the class of 2028, which is 24-25 cycle, it's 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 a record for us. And I also heard from many school, they do see the application increase for the current cycle.
So, for the requirement about the bachelor's degree, this student is wondering if like juniors applicants who are in college right now, they won't be able to apply directly since they don't have the bachelor's degree yet.
That's completely fine. We make that pretty clear on the website. They just need to have that degree confirmed by July 1st of the year of the matriculation. So they don't need to have it when they apply.
And then in your list of like recommendations for clinical experience, um, this patient's wondering if they should look at, if they should have all those preparatory experience or just one. Right now, they're working as a home aide, and asking if that would count as a healthcare experience.
Again, for the healthcare experience, I cannot make any promise. Now it really depends on you exactly for certain hours reported in CAPA, and our faculty will make a final evaluation there. And sometimes they may even want to verify it if they feel there's a need. And definitely we don't have the capacity to do auto verification, but that may happen case by case. To talk about all the preparatory experience, I don't think you have to have all. We just talk about like volunteer leadership, all of them, like house care, patient care, research. However, I do think you should at least have some you really have to passion. Students are different. Someone are really into research and you want to spend more time to have more research hours, fantastic. Some are really into, do help the medically underserved community, and you do more volunteer hours. You do more of those healthcare hours in those area, which is great too. So I think have the true passion and do what you are interested in most is the key. It's not what the program want to see, because our faculty, our admission committee, they review thousands, thousands file every year. They can easily tell, student just do it to check the box, or the student actually should have the true passion of what they are doing.
yeah, and I could just tell you this is for someone who works in a hospital, is that for you to walk into any kind of healthcare facility and put your hands on a patient requires you to be cleared, requires you to have some sort of training or certification or license. And so, like if you're doing home health, like make sure you're licensed because that has a really good backup to say, hey, this person is actually qualified. Um, and so the danger of it is that people think, well, I volunteered, because we get volunteers that come to the ER, but basically the thing that they do the most is put on a blanket or clean a gurney. And I don't think that's I mean, you get to see what's happening inside the hospital, but I would say the next part would be to get, and some of these certifications are as little as 40 hours, becoming a phlebotomist, a medical assistant. Some places may hire you to be a medical assistant without licensing, but then they could help you get licensed. And so all of these things is you need to have resilience and grit to get that done because nobody's going to take your hand in and say, yes, come into the hospital and crack someone's chest open. It's just not going to happen. Like even like where I work at is even if you have a CPR, like, you know, you're limited to what you can do under supervision of other folks. And um, it's kind of like, and then the other part of it too, clinical experience vary from working in home health to doing home visits to primary care to ER to being an OR attendant. So there's like a wide range of it. And at the end of the day, like you want to do what you enjoy. You don't want to spend 2,000 hours doing something X program says you have to do this type of experience. You'd be like, well, I would be bored to I would be bored to do this experience. So yeah, so I mean, just do what you enjoy and why you want to go into healthcare. Um, and watching Grey's Anatomy is not one. Just gonna throw it out there. That's just my thing. But anyways,
This next question is, do you have to get a letter from a doctor? Or is that just one of the people you can get it from?
You mean the letter of recommendations?
Yes. I believe the
Uh,
in the letter of recommendation, or there's like MDPA, or there's like a list. So this patient was at, or this, sorry, this person was asking if they should, if like a letter from a doctor's highly recommended, or if it's just like one of the people that they can get it from.
As I said earlier in the presentation, we definitely strongly prefer the letter from physician, physician assistant, nursing practitioner is another good one, and science professor, academic advisor is also pretty strong. Um, but I think more important, and again, it's not just check all the box, is first of all, this person really need to know you well. It's not just like you randomly get to know them, or some students sometimes we even see students use their own doctor to do the letter. So this person really need to know you well. And second is the letter need to speak directly about your alignment with the program mission and goal. So it's not just a random letter and the random people with a good title, is they really need to know you, and the letter should speak directly about your potential. So other than finding the right title, I think the letter content, the actual quality is more important.
And this other question is kind of similar to the letter of recommendation question. If they're unable to find a PA to shadow them in their area, and they're not able to like meet that a letter of record, like if they're not able to get that experience, is there any recommendations for that?
Sure. First of all, again, everything I just talked about, at least for Stanford's PA, is not required. It's just recommendation, right? You don't have to. If you really have a hard time to find certain letter or certain experience, that's not going to be the end of the world. And also, at Stanford, we don't even officially consider shadowing anymore. I think that's a change after COVID. So even they do shadowing, we no longer even consider that, or that. That's great. That's probably help you make some connection, get you familiar with the professional, but that really doesn't actually adding any point or weight to your application. But again, to talk about the network in general, I know it's very challenging. I heard a lot of students give me the same feedback, like how could I find a connection? How could I get into the experience? You actually have more connection than you thought. If you're a student in school, there are a lot of pre-PA, pre-med club, organization, association on campus. Your counselor, your advisor, there are also a lot of resources on campus. If you're already out of school, or regardless, there are tons clubs, organization on social media, Facebook, Instagram. People are there to answer your question. You can easily find some connections there. And some students may even find, some connections through their church or their mom, so you actually have more connection than you actually think. And I also believe there is another way you can get a healthcare advisor. Let me try to pull out that information. Um, Yes, the National Association of Advisors for Health Professionals, they actually, if you really just have no connection, you can easily get to their website and AAHP, find an advisor and try to find some connection and start from there as well. I can share that link if
I got it.
yeah.
Just
Thank
just
you.
know just know the rule of that is that if you are at a school that has an advisor, they won't let you do it. So make sure you go through your school first and see if they have an advisor. But if they don't, you could just put in your zip code and you could find someone.
And then, yeah, there's a lot of questions about, or this other question about like taking classes again. So the student, they've taken most of the classes on that list, except for two, and they're asking if you recommend going back to school to take them.
Again, I understand the concern, but it's really hard to just directly answer that question based on that one factor without looking the entire portfolio. And so again, as I said, probably already so many times, it depends on your financial situation. Are you comfortable spending more monies on taking class and also your timeline? Are you focused on getting more hours now and work full-time, part-time, other than, go back to school to get more, courses? It's really a hard balance to make a decision. So um, again, I really feel like that's the question the applicant need to evaluate and answer themselves. It's very hard for the program to help them make that decision. Plus, is I will recommend the student, even though if they still miss something, maybe they should start trial their first cycle for application, because by going through a real cycle, they give them more feedback. Do they what kind of the feedback they receive from the PA programs they're applying, and then that may give them a real sense for their weakness. Should they getting more hours, or should they retake some of the courses? Uh, you know, other than just think about and go through their file without actually applying. If they, uh, hard to decide, should I do this or should I do that? Am I ready? The one other option, maybe just try for the first cycle, and first cycle will give you more valuable feedback.
This next student is wondering if for like the chemistry or organic chemistry classes, if you recommend taking the lab components as well, and if there's any preference between online or in person for these kinds of classes.
Sure. Generally speaking, we prefer in-person class, but we do take consideration for online courses as well. And, if students go to our website for all the preparatory coursework, if we do prefer with the lab component, we will include that language in there. If we did not say that, that mean doesn't really matter. So I believe for chemistry and biochemistry, the lab probably is not required or not preferred.
Do you have rolling admissions?
That's a good question. Thank you for that. I know a lot of applicants have that rolling and non-rolling admission question. For for Stanford PA, we have a semi-rolling basis admission cycle, but actually I will say we are non-rolling. We just have one intake. We pretty much do the most of the review at once. However, um, because the admission cycle is a full year. However, the window for accepting application is fairly short. We just open up at the end of April and we close at the mid of July. So it's really just 3 months there. So I think student early the better. I know student sometimes feel like, oh, this is an enrolling based admission cycle. There's no benefit if I apply early. I don't know for other PA program, but for Stanford, there is a benefit for applying early because the window is so short. And as I said, there are so many CAS application take longer than you anticipate, actually, if you never tried before, if this is your first cycle. You will be able to minimize the problem. And some students see their application become complete status for one point and return to in progress because they're still missing something even they did not realize. So they are more back and forth than they thought. So even though we are not a rolling based admission, I still strongly recommend our applicant to submit their application as early as possible.
Does Stanford accept applications with some courses that are in progress?
Yes, we do. We still prefer the application could be as complete as possible, and that's the policy. We say that a lot. We say any in progress hours, professional hours, and courseworks we do not officially consider. They will be noticed. Your CASP application will still reflect those course subjects in other categories. However, we cannot take full consideration without completing those courses. So again, this is a student, decision to decide when they want to submit their application. Do they want to wait a little bit later to have more complete recommendations, or they want to apply it early to avoid any potential issues? Um, Unfortunately, there's no straight answer for that question.
Are STEM majors like biology and chemistry recommended for the admissions process? Would a student be at a disadvantage if their degree was in something else like business?
No, definitely no. There's no disadvantage for any major. I believe in the past we have students from Bachelor of Liberal Arts. We have students from theater studies, all different sorts of background. I really don't think the major is the key. I think the preparatory coursework is more important than the major. It's not what's your undergrad major is more like how many bioscience courses you complete and how strong they are.
And is the program undocumented friendly? Meaning, like, is it supportive of undocumented students?
Absolutely.
And are there any eligible financial aid opportunities for these types of students that make them feel like they can, or any other resources that can make them feel like they belong and help them succeed?
Sure. I just put a link in the chat box, but it's probably just to the host. Maybe one of you can share that link. That's the link for the non-US citizen webpage on the website. We definitely have resources and document at Stanford department will help you. And normally uh, again, for mission itself, we don't treat them differently. For us, it's all the same. So we don't even look at your immigration status or legal citizenship, anything like that. So we will treat all the application fairly. But if you're looking for more support resources, potential financial assistance, the website will give you a better idea and connection there.
If can a student apply more than once if they're denied or rejected the first cycle?
Sure, absolutely. We do see students do that some frequently, very frequently. Sometimes we even see students apply for more than two cycles. We value the student show some improvement. However, if everything just stay the same, it may not worse, paying another application fee and waiting for another year. So we appreciate those students continue applying for us, but we would prefer to see some improvement in their file.
Yes, Albert Einstein said insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You probably want to improve your application. Now, I know there's a question further down. what's the maximum times of you could apply to the Stanford PA program? This is the question.
Thank you. I don't think there's a policy and have a max, but this is your time in your life. You know, how many years you want to wait and trying again. And also, um, even though I'm 100% honored for Stanford's PA, but we are not only PA program, and maybe we're not the right one for you. You know, I know we are also all do medical education, but actually all the programs are different. There might be not just because you have a lower GPA, so we don't accept you. Maybe just we are not a good fit. You are looking for something, you're interested in something we are not offering, and we emphasize something else. And there are tons other PA program out there. I believe at least there are 310 more than 310 accredited PA programs out there across the country now. Even though personally I believe Stanford's the best, but I do believe there are a lot of great PA program out there as well. Maybe a better fit.
And if they applied multiple times, will their previous applications be looked at?
Depends. It really depends. You know, if they refer, like I applied before and this is the XYZ I do extra, we may go back and compare to their previous application. But it won't pop up like automatically for their previous application.
Yeah, there's 26 programs in California alone, so I'm sure that, 300 is a good number. There's more PA programs than medical schools.
How much support is there for a student, a current PA student, if they're failing a class? Is there a penalty for um, a, because your grading system is pass fail?
We, I think the program put a lot of effort to establish a early alert system. So we don't want to wait until we see student fail a class or fail EOR or EOD test. We try to um, find any red flag as early as possible and try to provide support. As I said earlier, we have faculty advisor. They will get a mentor as a real PA and also a faculty in the program. They will also get a learning specialty who will always try to schedule appointment with them if they find any concern. We have a student life officer who also support a student on both academic and non-academic aspect. And also we are a small program. You know, we always have the class under 30s. So that's why all the faculty, all the staff, administration, we all get to know our student so we can find those problems as early as possible and taking actions. That's why the PENS passing rate back to 100% for the first time takers for Stanford, because we really take a lot of action. I'm not saying the student don't need to work hard and being more and study and being more independence, but I'm just talk about at Stanford, we really value our student success. I personally believe it's a student-centered program. All the programming support, mentorship is really designed around the student. And because we're small enough, so we can take very quick action. For example, the learning specialty position is a newly created position. That's because we do see student may need another layer of support for academic, so we immediately create that position and hire a high quality profession who can support student. So we truly take quick action and sometimes when I heard about those support, I even feel overwhelmed, like how many mentors, how many advisors they get throughout the program. But they definitely, plus they also get a thesis project advisor for their research. So it's really a tons support they can get through the program.
They don't want you to fail because if anybody fails, Dr. Miner is going to be having a talk with you. So yeah, so I would say like just from previous students that I've spoken, there's a lot of resources. So
Are there any events to connect with current PA students?
Mm,
Suma's tomorrow is a good
yes.
time. I know that there's going to be bunch of PA students there. We've had PA students that have come here and spoken and have shared their information. Um, and so you could go back and look at our previous events and hear from them. Unfortunately, if you email us and ask for people's contacts, we will not provide it for you because unless they were willing to provide it, we don't want to be in this game of putting out people's emails to anybody. So, but I would say the other thing that I would say is if you want to connect with PA students and PAs, and I don't know where this person is, so I would say go to this website and I'll put that link in there. They have a lot of conferences throughout the state of California. Just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm interested. Can I come and volunteer? And they just want you to show up for a couple of hours and help people register. Um, and you show up and register, they give you a badge, and you could go to all the sessions and sit next to people and meet people and network with people. So, and there's people, there's PA students, there's all the programs from California show up to them. Um, so that's one thing that I would highly recommend you to do. But we have PA students that have done presentations, and I think there's some coming in May. So, and then SUMA's tomorrow as well. So,
Yes, I will be in the SUMA conference, and also I know my colleague, the student life officer I just talked about, she will be there as well. I believe several current students might be there too. And I know our students sometimes participate in the Kappa conference. They have a pre-PA pathway program, so that might be another way to connect with the student. And at Stanford, we normally do PA virtual fair every year online. We don't have a current student participate, but we have our student life officer who's going to be there with me every year, and she worked with all the current students very closely and intensively. So she may also be a good resource if you have more like student life, student experience question.
Our next question is, do you take non-traditional students?
Yes, there's no age limitation or any sort of preference we giving out. Um, so we recent couple cycles, I couldn't remember a single one, but we in the past we do have a non-traditional student get admitted and enroll into the program.
And this is like a little bit of follow-up from a later question. What's the average age for your incoming PA class?
We used to show that characteristic online, but the web page get taken down for maintenance. I will say it depends on the cycle, but normally like 25, 26.
the national average is 30, I think 29.6 or something. So,
Yeah, but thank you for that data. For Stanford, for some reason, our student is slightly younger than the national average.
yeah, I don't, I just look at what's posted.
And
Um, sorry.
what what makes an applicant stand out in their essays?
Mm, I I appreciate that question, but I should say I get that question a lot, and it's really not my favorite question because the personal statement is really should be your personal statement and should not be what is the strongest personal statement. I know there's a new change for CASPA application this year. Last cycle, the current cycle actually was the first year they tried that live experience essay, and that was optional for the previous cycle. But because of the overwhelming feedback PAE getting from PA school, so they turned it to a requirement for the new cycle. I will say personally, if you ask me what's the best personal statement or those type of essay I ever see, I was just a true letter. Like the student telling their true story, and that will make the true connection with the reviewers and with the faculty members, with the admission committee uh, from Stanford. Again, I think is not to get the most polished letter, is the opportunity to really express yourself as a true person. And try to say something you think the admission committee want to hear. Say something you want to say. I think I know it sounds nervous, but actually that's always the most powerful way to get your letter stand out. not letter, sorry, your personal statement to send out.
Don't use Chat GPT.
The student is a community college student. They're asking if it's better to complete their prereqs in community college or during a four-year university.
Again, as I said earlier in the presentation, we definitely strongly recommend additional at least three upper division bioscience courses. And those courses obviously um, cannot come from tier colleges. And I also should be very honest to applicant. We do weight slightly more for the coursework from four-year colleges compared with two-year community college, but that difference is very minor. I don't think that make a huge difference, but we do weight a tiny bit more for the four-year colleges coursework.
And what would be a scenario if a student were to get accepted without taking like the standardized test?
We do have that every year. Um, but I can also be honest with the applicant. Like this sorry, the current cycle, 24-25 cycle, we are about to finish. Is the first cycle we use the term highly recommended because we do find that stronger indicators than many other elements. But a cycle before we were saying this is just recommended. So also because of that slightly language change, we do see more applicants submit their scores. So I think because of that, we do see a higher percentage of the admitted student who are holding the score. But still, that being said, even for the current cycle 24-25, we already have the incoming class settled for the class of 2028. We still have several students in the cohort who do not have the standardized test.
And the student is asking if the personal statement is required for admission.
I think it is well, again, I think that's required for CASPA application. It's not Stanford requirement. That's the common PA app requirement. So
Yeah, it won't let you submit. These are all automatic systems. Like it literally would tell you.
exactly. Um, but we always try to make the application as accessible as possible for our application. So we even used to have a Stanford specific essay, but we took it down. Um, the current cycle, we really just want make the application as easy as accessible as possible. But again, seems like right now CASPER require two essays, the life experience and personal statement.
How heavily weighted would you say is the standard test recommendation? One of the students is asking most of the schools they're considering do not require the degree, so they're trying to take the cost benefits of like taking the test.
We don't require GRE either. We don't require any of them. Again, I think the applicant need to make self-assessment. Do you have concern for academic record? Do you feel like your coursework is not strong enough? Your undergrad major or your undergrad school, your GPA, do you have any concern where you feel like you have a 4.0 super shiny, perfect, academic record, then you probably don't need any test to boost that. But if you feel like you are on the border or you want to be a more competitive, taking a standardized test is always the very first top one recommendations.
Does Stanford offer any loan forgiveness programs for those who graduate from the PA program and work for Stanford Health afterwards?
We used to have that program for many years. The reason I did not include that into my financial support slide is I think it's under the discussion of renew or how they want to do it continue by moving forward. So I cannot promise anything at the moment. That's why I did not include that. But I'm very confident that we used to have that for many years.
And does it look bad if an applicant only did their undergrad part-time, like 2 classes per semester because they're also working full-time, like in a healthcare position
Oh no,
job?
it really I don't think that's I think that sounds great. I don't see any disadvantage by doing that.
And do you take into consideration if you have applied already but did not get accepted?
Sorry, do you mind to say that question again?
Yeah, do you take into consideration students who have applied already but did not get accepted? I'm assuming like if they reapply again for the next time, do you look into that? Like if they submitted an application already but didn't get accepted the first time?
Um, we as we just discussed earlier, we definitely still welcome anyone who want to reapply. And I think the CASP application will ask you, did you apply for this PA program before? And even ask you which cycle you applied. So we believe the applicant are supposed to be honest. They shouldn't hide that information. And again, we appreciate they reapply, but we want to see some improvement. Oftentimes, if we see a reapplication, we depends on how far they move forward. Some of them may just really not ready, still missing a lot of things, and we may not even pull out their previous application. But if they're moving forward, it's very likely we're going to look at their previous application. But that's not a bad thing. Again, if you see a significant improvement, that's definitely a great thing to be a reapplicant.
And our next question, is there any preference between taking the GRE or the PA CAT? Or are they considered equally? If they are right now, they're considering taking one of those two.
Um, Thank you for that question. I did not include more detail about that, but even though our website and even include my slide, we say we prefer PACAT. But to be honest, that's really for our internal purpose. It's not because we're going to weight or value PACAT score more than GRE. It's really because we try to collect more data for our own analysis purpose. It's really not for applicant. So we appreciate they take PACAT because that's the data point we're looking for. However, I will still say GRE is the most common test we see.
Does the program offer a point of care ultrasound course for students?
Pardon? Sorry.
Yeah. Does the program offer a point of care ultrasound course for students?
Yes, that's part of the clinical diagnostic. So yes.
Thank you. Perfect.
Um, so this is the one last question, Kristen. So find a good juicy one because Miss Tao is going to be spending all day tomorrow at the SUMA conference. So she probably needs to get some rest because she's going to be speaking all day tomorrow.
Thank you for the
So
understanding.
make sure you ice your jaw and
Let me try to find like something that hasn't been asked before. Um, let's see. I'm gonna choose this one. Um, what is your perspective on applicants who are career changers? They're shifting from being a teacher to a researcher or into like becoming a PA. What is your perspective on these kinds of applicants?
I think those are beautiful. Again, right now you have required to provide your story, the life experience essay and your personal statement. I think if you have a true good story to tell and a real one, why you are changing career, what brought you to the healthcare professional, why you want to become a PA, I think that's exactly what the program want to hear and what we are looking for. Um, so at Stanford, we always value those true passion. And our program director sometimes say that internally, like we are not looking for um, the student who want become a PA just because it's a better work-life balance than physician, or just because it's a good career to make a decent salary. We're really looking for those true story and passion behind the scene behind each application. So if there are good reason for you to change career, I think that's actually might potentially even burn your application stand out.
All righty. Well, Ms. Tao, thank you very much for coming tonight, right before the Suma. So thank you very much for making time for us, and um, hope you have a good day tomorrow. Thanks everyone for joining us. And again, we probably could be here till 10 o'clock at night, but we all have to go. So thank you
Yes,
again.
thank you for having me. I had a great time and good time answer all the interesting questions today, even though we have to finish here. But again, feel free to email Stanford MSPA through the admission inbox. I'm actually the one who stay on top of the inbox. So I will be the one who answer your question if you email me. So
All right. Well, thank you very much again.
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much
Have
for
a
coming.